And now we get to my favorite action movie series. At least as of right now, it's my favorite. If I come across something better, I'll let you know. But yeah, I say that unapologetically. And I'll tell you right now, with all the movies and shows that I've talked about out here, and like I said, I'm not that arrogant and that blind that I can't understand some criticisms of the things that I watch. Okay, we talk about horror films all the time. Jason, Freddy, Mike Myers, Scream, Chucky, Insidious, The Conjuring. They all have legit criticism. I get it. You know, a lot of TV shows I talk about, movies, video games. Oh, this one got worse because it's not the same as it was in the beginning. I get it. Now, I've heard plenty of criticisms of the Fast and Furious movies. Now, I went back to look at some of the negative reviews on the original Fast movies, and I think some of them were kind of ridiculous, so to say, but they're not as ridiculous as the one I want to get to in this video. I want to start off by saying, I looked at some of the reviews of the original Fast and Furious just because I was curious about what people thought. And, of course, most people will say, oh, it was authentic because it was just strictly street racing, and, you know, it made sense that Brian was an undercover cop. He was trying to take down Dom and his friends, and he had a change of heart. You know, it was realistic. It was authentic. Makes sense. I saw one criticism that said something along the lines of, well, there was too many women in the movie, and we all know that women can't drive as good as men. Okay? That's actually the first time I've heard a criticism like that, especially in regard to this movie. I have not heard anybody say that. I think that was one of the reviews I saw on Google or something like that. Okay, kind of ridiculous. Then another one said, well, look at Furious 7, and they continued doing the movie even after Paul Walker died. They had his brother in place, and you still got Mia here because, you know, she's still married to Brian, but he's just in hiding, and he's the one taking care of stuff, and she's out there. Okay, I get all that. Now we get to a more legitimate criticism. And again, this is not the one I want to get to, but here we go. In the 9th movie, they went to outer space. How do they do that? Because they put some type of a, whatever you call it, like a rocket thing, and put jet fuel, and they just made it go there. Okay, I don't argue against that because, yeah, I think that was a bit silly and goofish and comedic. Okay, that was basically like Fast and Furious meets Star Wars type thing, or Star Trek, or whatever. Now, here's what I want to say right here. And by the way, I'm trying to decide which one of these I should read first because you know what, I'll start with this one right here. I gotta be honest with you. I was planning on doing this video for a while, and I was trying to decide how in order I was gonna do this. Let's just do this right here. So one of the negative reviews on Fast X says, this movie is an absolute train wreck. This sounds harsh, but people who say otherwise are just mindless movie watchers with no taste whatsoever. They just watch it for the so-called action thrill, which is exactly what this movie is. A 100% action thrill throughout and absolutely slaughtering other elements of a good film. Well, you know what? And see, I've always said that for me personally, when I watch movies like that, I mean, I do enjoy the action scenes and the thrill. I've talked about TV shows and movies where, you know, for example, the show 24, which I haven't talked about much in this show, but I'll get to later. But I just want to make this point right quick. That show is full of action and full of just fist fights, explosions, gunplay, car crashes, all that stuff. People getting kidnapped, bomb threats, people being held hostage on a plane. There's all type of stuff. So I've always said, if you like action and you like that heavy intensity stuff, that would be a good TV show for it. It's available to watch on Hulu. And so I look at something like Fast and Furious, I look at movies like Taken and the Mission Impossibles, and we see very similar things. And for me personally, even though most people can agree the original Fast and Furious was the best, I'm not going to rule this one out because I think there's a part of the original that's better, and there's part of some of the later movies that are better than some of the earlier ones. And for me personally, as I stated before, most movies are for entertainment, not for, let's take this and copy it to reality and it's inspiring. No, some movies just don't have that. And I think that crazy explosive action is very attention grabbing for me and a lot of people. So if that's what you like to watch, I say go for it. Now, some people don't like that crazy explosive action, in which case I wouldn't recommend this movie. I said, okay, this may not be your thing. Now, this brings me to my next one. I posted and said, I'm still a huge fan of the Fast and Furious franchise. Who gives a damn that the cars were defying the laws of physics? It's a movie for entertainment, not a scientific documentary. Which brings me here. One comment says, but we all know people rely on movies for reality. like that movie Sound of Freedom, which the events were likely made up. Yet the QAnon and conspiracy love it as a documentary, or how many people use the movie 8 Mile as some historical reference. Hollywood knows what it's doing. Most of our assumptions on real life are based in what we saw in a movie. Well, I'll say this. So this goes back to the argument that I've had with many people about what movies are considered realistic and which ones are considered not. So here in 2023, I would say, for me personally, out of the movies I've seen, or at least know of, I would say Creed 3, Nefarious, Gran Turismo. I would say that those are probably the 3 most realistic ones I've seen this year, because, of course, Creed 3, boxing, and it had a similar message to Gran Turismo as far as, follow your dreams and stay consistent and stay on top of it, don't give up, all that stuff. Nefarious was about a guy being possessed by a demon, which some people thought was fake, but trust me, it's pretty realistic. Now, here we get to the one that I want to get to. This comment here says, Princess Leia flew through space like an alternate universe Supergirl. There's no reason to expect Fast and Furious to be anything but science fiction at this point. They need to put a warning at the beginning that says, kids, don't try any of these with your actual vehicle. Which brings me to my main point. The absolute dumbest criticism I have heard of this entire franchise. And I mean, this is the dumbest one that I've heard. A lot of the haters of these movies think that these movies are trying to encourage people to do with their vehicles what they see in the movies. So, before I give my direct response to that, I just want to start off by saying this. And I'm sure this applies to a lot of people, but let me just at least speak for myself on this one. Many people will agree, many will disagree, but just hear me out. There are plenty of shows and movies that I watch, most of which I talk about in this show. And I love to watch this stuff all the time. Guess what? No matter how realistic or unrealistic it is, I haven't been encouraged to really do anything that these shows are presenting to me. For example, I like to watch FBI shows and movies. I like Criminal Minds. My second favorite show in that particular category was The Following with Kevin Bacon, which I talked about in here before. Okay, it's not like I get done watching the show and I'm like, ooh, I want to be an FBI agent. No, I don't aspire to be an FBI agent, and I'm not faulting anybody who does. And I'm not trashing anybody in the FBI, but that's just not my thing. I don't care. I like to watch it on TV. I like to watch Law and Order, and I like to watch shows like the NCIS and like those type of crime shows and legal dramas. It's not making me want to be a cop. It's not making me want to be a prosecutor or a defense attorney or a judge. It's just something for me to watch for entertainment. I also like Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. I'm not going to get on a motorcycle and drive off the dang mountain. Matter of fact, I'm not getting on a motorcycle, period. Why? Because I'm too scared to do that. And I'm assuming most of you watching this video probably feel the same way. But again, Tom Cruise did an amazing job with that movie. And of course, he does an amazing job with all the movies and almost any movie that he does. I mean, the man is worth $600 million for a reason. And so it's just a good movie that I watch for entertainment. Taken, same thing. There's a lot of stuff that goes up on that movie that I wouldn't want to be in that situation, but it's good. Now, I'll tell you what I also really liked. And as I had mentioned earlier, and I know a lot of people agree that the first Fast and Furious movie was the best out of this movie franchise. Excuse me. I think that, and I don't know anybody personally. Now, you might know some people. I don't know. I don't know anybody who looked at the first Fast and Furious movie and then came out the theater or got done watching the movie and then later said, you know what, that was fun. I want to do street racing. I don't think anybody said that. Number one, because that's a thing that's been taking place before that movie was even thought of anyway. So I wouldn't say that movie had any type of influence whatsoever in making people want to do that. There's also plenty of movies and shows out there where people rob banks and hold people hostage and kidnap people. It doesn't mean that they do it afterwards. I mean, unfortunately, yeah, it does take place and it's bad, but I don't think anybody does it because of what they saw in a movie. And so in that same regard, my question is it possible that I can watch some of the later Fast and Furious movies and enjoy them and still have the common sense to know that this is not what can happen in real life? Like, doesn't anybody with a tenth of a brain can just be able to make the objective statement that, yeah, Fast and Furious 9 was a great movie, but there's no way in hell that my car is going to go into outer space? Like, isn't that possible for people to think that? And so when people sit there and say, oh, we think that this movie is telling people to, if you're driving your car on the freeway and you got two military helicopters chasing you and they latch the ropes on the side of the car and pull you up, all you got to do is push the accelerator really fast and it brings it right down and the two helicopters crash into each other. Again, to respond to that comment about people rely on this stuff for, people rely on movies for reality. It really depends on what you are watching. Now, if you want to look at something like Creed, Rocky, Gran Turismo, or anything that's like that, okay, that's makes a little bit more sense because that is more realistic because people are following their dreams and they're going about what they want to do. That's that. But I, and most people I know, when we watch stuff like Fast and Furious, I don't see it as an inspiring movie. I don't see it as inspirational. I don't think it's intended to educate in any type of way it's not like a pursue your dream or like follow your dream, pursue happiness type thing. No, it's entertainment. And the actors and actresses do a great job. Vin Diesel, everybody there. And so I don't get why people, I don't know a single person. And if anybody knows of anybody, please share your story here in the comment section. Like and subscribe, by the way. Please and thank you. Share with me a story in the comment section about you knowing somebody that looked at Fast 9 or X or 7 or 8 and then looked at that and said, you know what? We should try to figure out how we're going to put our car into outer space. We should try to figure out how to get our car on a rooftop and we're going to drive it from one rooftop to another. Or like we can just drive through the building and everything will be okay. Or a car can take that much damage and it'll still be all right. I want to see if I can set my car on fire and then continue to drive it at a speed of 90 miles an hour, 95, 100 miles an hour, and it'll be just fine because the fire will just dissipate. It'll just go away. If you know anybody who thinks that way, please show me because I don't know anybody who thinks that. Now, again, don't get it twisted. I'm not saying that you have to like the movies because, as I said before, even with the stuff that I absolutely love, TV show, movie-wise, it doesn't matter. So whether it's Taken, Mission Impossible, SVU, Criminal Minds, Mortal Kombat, just anything, I'm not saying that you have to like it because there's not a single movie or show that's designed to entertain everybody. Avengers being a very close one. Very close, but even that's not fully perfect. But besides that, each movie and show, series, franchise, whatever, they're all going to have something. You're going to have a ton of people, a lot of people liking it, a lot of people not liking it, and people who feel in the middle, it's all right, or people who don't watch any of it at all, so they don't really have an opinion, and they don't really care. They don't know, they don't care. So, again, that to me, that's just a dumb criticism, and this video really wasn't that important. I just wanted to share that thought, because it just made me curious. Like, why did people think this? Why did people think that people are going to watch this movie and come out and get the wrong idea? Like, it's not. Listen, here's another example I wanted to give earlier. That all that stuff that I listed that I watch, it doesn't make me want to do it. You know what else I watch all the time? As I state in this show all the time, you know what else I always watch? I always watch horror films, namely slasher films. I'm always watching Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, Child's Play, Scream. Not once, and by the way, I got plenty of friends who watch that stuff too. Not once have I or they been encouraged to put on a mask, whether it be a hockey mask or just some rough, what Freddy, just put on rough, whatever, and pull out a machete or a butcher knife or claws or an axe or a chainsaw or the Ghostface knife, and just go out and start stabbing and killing people. Why? Because we know it's wrong, and we know that these movies were designed to entertain, not influence. And the same thing goes with Fast and Furious. At the end of the day, none of these movies are considered a education piece. They're not considered an inspiration. At the end of the day, it's all just entertainment. And I would say that I can also proudly and unapologetically state that, as I said in the last video, Vin Diesel confirmed that Fast 11 will be coming out in 2025. Now, he said it's going to be in April, but we don't know because the dates could change. I think it was supposed to be a little earlier than that, but then the writer's strike, held everything up, and, that was a whole mess for a bit. But now all shows and movies are back, resuming production and are in various stages of development. But regardless, it might come out later than that. It might come out earlier. It doesn't matter. It gives me plenty of time to catch up on many other things and give many other reviews on other shows and movies that I like and others that I want to watch that I've missed. So I eagerly await Fast 11. Yes, I do. And when Taken 4 comes out, are they going to put something in there that's unrealistic? Possibly, possibly not. I don't know. I'm still going to go see it. But at the end of the day, I just say, don't think about how realistic or unrealistic the movie is. It's all there for entertainment. I would just say watch whatever you want to watch and just enjoy.